Hey, how's it going? In this episode, we're going to talk about just working on some Stripe samples. So last night, this user SL Whitman opened some issues on this Stripe sample about connect with direct charges. So Stripe Connect is this product that you can use for building platforms and marketplaces. And Stripe Checkout is a Stripe hosted page where you can redirect to checkout. And these Stripe samples have let's see, this one has an HTML client, and then they also have several different servers. This one just has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're missing Go and .NET. And so the goal for, oh gosh, you can't see that. Here you go. This was the issue that was opened. So SL Whitman writes in and talks about a bug that happened on this Stripe sample. So this Stripe sample has a single HTML client that I hope you can see. And it also has several different server implementations. So it's got Ruby, Python, PHP, Node, and Java. It is missing Go and .NET. There are some, we're also like missing some tests we could probably write and a couple other things. I don't think this sample has been touched very much for many, many months. So we're going to kind of just do some cleanup and work on adding maybe Dependabot, maybe a couple different other things. And then also just responding to this issue as kind of, I thought it might be fun to just stream it and talk about it because we don't really talk very much about Stripe Connect very much. And so let's jump into it. Okay, so here I already pulled down the repo. So I've got the repo here. And in the root, there is this .env.example. And so, hey, Yassine, how you doing? Where are you from? What are you up to today? Thanks for joining. Yassine is here. They say like. Okay, so we've got so in the .env.example before we didn't have the domain. So I just added the domain. So that fixed one of the bugs. I think that might actually be the thing that fixes this one issue is just adding the domain to the .env file. But there's a bunch of other cleanup that we want to do. So we'll just say like adds domain env variable. And what else does this do? I guess this fixes number 10. So while we're working on this, though, I want to go through and update a few things. So this is what the sample actually looks like. I guess we'll jump into one of the servers here, maybe Ruby, and say Ruby server, and fire this up. And now when we go to localhost 4242, you can see the page here. It says accept a payment with direct charges. And then we can pick a teacher. And this list of teachers, I'm assuming is the accounts that are connected to with my secret key. So we'll go take a look at how this select list is actually populated. And then the idea is that you can sort of like say, I want to buy 5 hours of guitar lessons, and I'm going to complete my payment where I'm buying like these $10 an hour guitar lessons. And we're redirected to Stripe Checkout where we can see like this hosted page. A couple of things that I'm noticing right off the bat, this only has the card element. So I'm guessing the Stripe Checkout session is sort of an older implementation that only has payment methods. So we want to enable automatic payment methods. So why don't we do that first? Let's just jump into the Ruby server here and look at how the checkout session is configured. So we have this Sinatra post route. So we're receiving post requests to /create checkout session. And this is going to just accept some application JSON. We're going to read in the JSON body. We're going to grab that base price out of the environment variables. So like in our .env here, we have some base price, and that is $10. So it's like in the lowest currency denomination or whatever. And then we're taking the quantity that was passed in from the front end and that base price, and we're building line items, these custom line items from scratch, passing in an amount that's actually a little bit old, like legacy, I would say. And then we're passing in a quantity, and then we actually do have like this nice image of a guitar. And then we're coming back to success or cancel. But here we have payment method types. And so payment method types is old. It is, we like don't want to have payment method types anymore, because when we are explicitly passing in payment method types, Hey Wilder, what's up? Good morning. Yeah, how's it going? I know it's a little bit early morning here, but we're hanging out. So yeah, payment method types lets you explicitly say, I want to accept card, I want to accept a US bank account like ACH, I want to accept Klarna or bank contact or whatever different payment method types. But there's this really cool new thing where you can define those directly in the Stripe dashboard. And so we actually don't need to specify payment method types anymore. And like right off the bat, this should get better. So like, let's restart the server, refresh the page. And then if we come down here and say we want to check out now, then we're redirected. And we actually don't have more payment method types probably enabled for that specific connected account, I'm guessing. So if we come into our Connect platform and come down here to our connected accounts, and we open this up, and we take a look at this connected account settings. I believe we should be able to manage the payment method types somewhere. Capabilities. So we've got card payments and transfers. This actually just moved, so I'm not remembering where this goes. How do we control the payment method types for a connected account? Perhaps it's in settings for Connect. Here we go. Connect payment method types. So your account and then the ones that are enabled for connected accounts. So we'll edit the settings for connected accounts. We're in test mode. So we want to allow connected accounts to customize their own, or do we want to just enable a bunch? So I think what we want to do is enable a couple. So we've got Apple Pay. These ones have action required. Yeah, we do want to enable link probably. And then, yeah, so definitely ACH direct debit. So this is brand new, newly available on checkout and payment element and payment link. So that we definitely want to enable. We can, enable Canadian pre-authorized debit, Bax direct debit, Bex direct debit for folks in Australia. We can enable FPX for folks in Malaysia, et cetera, et cetera. I guess we also want to maybe enable Boleto and OXXO. These are really fun voucher-based payment methods. And then the ones that have action required, that just means that the connected account has to like confirm that that's something that they want to turn on because they need to agree to certain terms. So here's some that we want to turn on. And just by applying that, if we restart the demo and reopen this checkout session, we should have some more payment method types here. We do not. Why don't we? I guess, wait, hold on. Okay. So we just enabled them for, wait, why didn't that? Oh, maybe it takes a minute to update. Okay. It says this might take a few minutes. All right. Well, we'll come back to that in a bit. And while we're waiting for that, what we can do is come over to our server and let's just clean up some of the code that's in server.rb so that it matches sort of what we have in a lot of the other samples. Okay, so we're loading the environment from .env. We're setting the API key. One other thing that we've been doing recently is accept a payment. This is like the kind of like the canonical example right now is the accept a payment sample. And if we look at the server for Ruby for this sample, you'll see that we're actually passing in some info, some setup info. We're also passing in an API version because we want to explicitly set the API version for the sample so that we're guaranteed to work with whatever version that we've set it at. I've had a few instances in the past where folks go to try a sample and it doesn't work as expected because their API version, their like default API version, is set to something different, and then the API behaves a little bit differently. So this sample again is called Connect Direct Charge with Checkout. So we're just going to add this in here to make sure that we can track like if we have any errors or whatever that are related to this. Okay, what else do we have going on here? We have we've got like a get route. I'm not actually sure what this does here. So what is this doing? So this is saying go through each of the headers, and I don't think we actually need this. for anything. Okay. So compute the application fee amount. So this is just a helper function that takes in some base price and some quantity and applies a 10% cut that the platform will receive when someone pays. Again, we're pulling out the base price here. What I think I want to do is actually say like .env.fetch, and then we'll say base price. Otherwise, we'll just default to $10. And what that will do is if like if we have some Ruby hash, right? Let's say that our env is some Ruby hash. I guess we can't reuse that one. Env2 is some Ruby hash. And if we say env2.fetch, then we can pass in a key that we want to fetch or a default value that we should get if we do not have that key. So if the key, let's say, is base price, then if base price is not a key that's in the hash already, then we'll get back 1, 2, 3, 4. Otherwise, if we say like env2 at, like if we actually set it, base price, I don't know if I just broke everything by having a new line there, but if we say that is like, I don't know, 9,000, and then we try to fetch it again, we'll get back the value that is actually at that key. So that makes it a little bit more robust, meaning that like we won't automatically fail if you don't have the base price set in your environment variables, which is kind of handy. So we can do something similar for the domain. We'll just say like fetch the domain. And if it's not there, then we're going to give it localhost 4242, which is the default. And this is also adding on our like success URL. What I want to do is actually just use string interpolation here. I don't know, like not a huge deal to change that, but whatever. What's cool about this success URL, so this is the URL to which we are redirecting the customer after they successfully pay, is we're embedding this checkout session ID in the query string. So that'll be in the URL on the success page. And what's nice about that is we can then use that checkout session ID to like look up the checkout session and display information about it on the page, like, what you purchased and like what you purchased, maybe if you had any coupons or discounts, things like that. Okay, so let's also do this env.fetch default situation in the case of the cancel URL, and we need to make this a double quote. I don't know if anyone has context about that. Like, why do we need to use double quotes when we're doing string interpolation with Ruby? I don't know. It's just like just a pattern or something. Like, I wish it worked with single quotes and double quotes. Like, what's the limitation? Maybe someone knows that and can drop that down in the description below, or maybe folks that are online right now have an idea of how that works. Okay, so line items used to work like this. You could just pass in a name and some images and a quantity and a currency right at the top level. This is actually like a legacy way of defining line items. And so what we want to do is instead, we want to pass in some price data. So check it out, the checkout session. I use this tool called Text Expander, which is pretty cool. You can say like, you can build these little, I don't know what they're called, like snippets, I guess, where you type something out and then it like auto completes it for you. So here, this is the new style of line item. So if we look at the line items list here, you'll see that by default, we want to pass in either the ID of an existing price or we want to pass in price data. And so the way that this was implemented before is we were kind of taking in some quantity and then just some raw number for the price that we wanted to charge. Instead of maintaining like a price and product catalog inside of Stripe, we're just kind of defining these ad hoc. And so the way that we can do this with the newer pattern is define some price data. And the price data is going to expect a currency and then either product or product data. So in this case, we can pass in the same currency, and then we can pass in some product data. And product data accepts the images. And what else does product data take in? That also takes the name and the description, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll pass in the name into product data here. And I think, oh, right. And then the price data also is expecting the unit amount. So it's no longer called amount, it's called unit amount. And it lives inside of price data, and we'll just call that unit amount. And that is going to be our base price. And then outside of the price data, so this is our price data hash here, we want to pass in the quantity. Now, what's cool is I think probably since this was implemented, or since this sample was first defined, we have added adjustable quantity. So what we can do here is we can actually pass in, we can enable adjustable quantity if we want. I think that kind of goes a little bit outside the bounds of the demo. So maybe we'll just keep it as is. And then we are passing a payment intent data that has the application fee amount that we're calculating based on the base price and quantity. Again, this is like a little helper function that's up above. Now, in the case of Connect, we are making an API call here. So this is going to create a checkout session. And we're actually passing this create function two different arguments. The first argument is this hash of all the params that we're sending to the API. And then the second argument here is some special headers. And these headers are, in this case, we're passing along the Stripe account. So this is the connected account, like this is the merchant. So in this case, what we're doing is we're saying, which teacher do you want to buy guitar lessons from? And then we're passing along the ID of the teacher's Stripe account as part of creating the checkout session so that when they check out, they're paying that specific teacher. Okay. The other thing that's going on here in this route is we're rendering back to our client some JSON that has the ID of the checkout session. There's actually a newer pattern here. And so what I want to do is actually jump up into the client. So we'll go back into the HTML here and take a look at what's happening with the HTML. Okay, so we've got this div that has like a bunch of stuff. This is like our form. So we're picking the number of hours. We're picking from a dropdown. We're picking some the teacher that we want to select, and then we have this submit button down below. And then inside of script.js, we have some JavaScript that allows us to control the number of items that a customer can purchase. And this second thing here, update quantity, this is all about updating the quantity. And then we are adding, we're adding click handlers for the increment button. We're handling any errors from checkout. We actually don't need to handle these anymore because we actually no longer need to create a checkout session with this AJAX request. So the way that this is currently set up is when you click that button on the client, we're like grabbing the input for the quantity and we're grabbing the input for the account and we're passing those back to the server with JavaScript. Then we're waiting for some data to come back. And then we're using that data in order to create a checkout session. And that checkout session is then being used to call redirect to checkout right here. But there's a much better way to do this. We actually don't need to handle any of this stuff client side anymore. We can just send some data to the server and then redirect server side directly to checkout. And so what I think we want to do is actually just rip out all of this submit handler code and instead replace it with a form on the client. So we're going to rip out all of this create checkout session code because we actually don't need that anymore. And then we're still going to need this set up accounts code because that's fetching all of the accounts. And we still have some Express dashboard code that might be up here. But for now, let's go back to our HTML and instead let's make this form like an actual form. So if we come back to our demo, restart the demo and open this up, what you'll see is that what we really need is we just need a form that has this input and a button. So the input for the number, the input for the select, and the button, that's really all we need. So this section where we call section, I actually want to make this, I think, a form, but let's just wrap the whole thing in a form for a second and see what happens here. Okay. All right, let's see how badly that breaks the CSS, if at all. Okay. All right, I think that still looks good. And then what we want to do is we want to set the form action to be create checkout session. And we're going to send this back to the server as a post request. And now what we need to do is like just make sure that our inputs have a name. So this needs to have a name, and that's going to be quantity. And our select also needs a name, and this is going to be name is going to be account. Okay. All right. So now when we refresh the page, what I'm expecting is that on the server, we're going to be receiving. We're going to be receiving like form encoded data. It's like whatever www form encoded form URL encoded data, and then we don't actually need to parse. I don't think we need to JSON parse that. It should be available just in like params or something. Let's just p request.body, and then maybe like Sinatra form encoded. Let's see how we do this with Sinatra. Yeah, anybody on? No. Okay, let's see. Rack.read. Holy moly. Okay. So yeah, it's just params. Okay, yeah, just params. All right. So great. So we should be able to just change this to params quantity. And I think we should be able to change this to params account. What is up, Aaron? How's it going? How is your new hometown? So Aaron from Automate All the Things in the house or in the apartment or in the, what is it? You're in a new condo? How is yeah, I guess your new city, your new hometown, your new home country. You changed countries. Yeah, this is big times for Aaron. All right, so params, we should be able to take in params. And then like once we've created the checkout session, that's going to have a URL property that we can redirect to. So I think in Sinatra, we can just say redirect. Aaron says it's cold and expensive. Yeah, it's cold here too. It's not as expensive here though. It was cold enough this morning that I needed this like super warm hat to take my kids and drop them off at the bus. And I still haven't warmed back up from it. And it's like 9:30. So yeah, I'm sure it's cold. All right, so we're going to redirect to that URL property that is on that session. And I think this might, I don't know, let's just give it a whirl. This might work, maybe. Okay, restart the server. And well, I'm just going to open up I sort of keep the dev tools open all the time just to see what's flying by as we're making requests. So we click on complete, and you must provide mode when using prices. Okay, cool. This is great. So what we have in our server here is, because we're now passing price data, we also need to pass a mode, which was another thing that was introduced probably after the sample was originally written. And so in this case, the mode is going to be payment. The mode could be one of setup, payment, or subscription. Setup is like you want to redirect someone to checkout just to collect their details, but you're not going to charge them anything right now. Like maybe you want to just add a card on file, or you want to set up some payment details for later. Payment is you want to collect a one-time payment right now. And subscription, you can actually start recurring subscriptions, and you can even pass in like a one-time price that is like a setup fee, and then another price that is a recurring price. So for now, we're just going to set pass mode. And let's give this another shot here. Let's see. Oh, actually, gosh, we got to restart the server. You know what I'm going to do is add Sinatra reloader. And I think in order to do that, we need to add Sinatra contrib to our gem file so that we can actually use that. And that will make it so that we can just or the server should automatically reload as we're making changes. I hope. We'll see. Okay, complete payment of $10, and we're redirected to checkout. Whoa, look at that. Now we have ACH. Oh my gosh, it's so, yeah, that was so quick and easy. So to enable ACH, remember that we removed payment method types, and we went into the Stripe dashboard and enabled the payment methods for our connected accounts to include ACH and a bunch of other payment methods. Only card and ACH are showing right now because we are collecting a USD payment. And so those are the only two payment methods that we have enabled in the dashboard for connected accounts that support that currency. So if we just go through here, in fact, like, yeah, let's go through the process for ACH. It's really neat. And you have instant verification now. So you can just say like, oh, connect directly to whatever my bank account is. And instead of having to like do a micro deposit thing, you can just automatically just say like, okay, yes, I want to make an immediately verified bank account connection to Stripe, and then I'm going to pay for this $10 thing directly with ACH. So that's like, I don't know, very handy. And yeah, so okay, so that's we're making great progress here. And at this point, what we have is we actually have a Ruby server that instead of rendering back that session ID, we're redirecting directly to checkout. We've upgraded to use this new price data like pattern, and we're using a little bit better like idiomatic Ruby, I think. And we have like a little bit more reliable fetching for our environment. And what else we've got going on here? Let's see. I think I'm pretty happy with, at least with this post route here. I think what might make sense too is to maybe write a couple of just RSpec tests so that we can confirm that this is doing what we expect potentially. And then we can run those tests against the other languages so that we can make changes to those other languages faster. The other thing I'm noticing is that we are passing the currency here, but then we're like just using USD. So let's clean up config a little bit. We actually don't need to pass a currency to the front end. And we do want to pass our publishable key and our base price. So for our base price, again, we're going to say n.fetch base price or $10 or something. Our publishable key, we absolutely need to have that publishable key, so that we'll keep there. And this is where we're actually making an API call to fetch the list of accounts. Andrew, what's up? How's it going? I totally missed everyone at Sin City Ruby. I wish I was there. So yeah, I hope everyone had a blast, but I'm really trying to make it out to RailsConf. Andrew Mason is one of the hosts of Remote Ruby. It's an awesome podcast. If you haven't checked it out, go check out the Remote Ruby podcast. Also, Ruby Radar is like this amazing newsletter that comes out on a weekly basis with tons of great stuff supporting the community, all like really amazing things. Oh yeah, hugs. All right, so what else do we have here? So we've got this config route. It's fetching the publishable key. It's returning that to the client. In fact, based on the current integration, we actually don't even need a publishable key, but we'll leave that in there for now just in case there was any other like sort of future plans. Next, we have, well, I cannot wait to see y'all in Portland either. This is going to be a blast. I think we're going to have fun. I'm like a little bit nervous about the flights. Coming home, there were only red eyes available, but it should be fun. So, all right, so this get express dashboard link. So this is, again, just like a simple Sinatra route where we are, we're making an API call to Stripe to create this thing called a login link where you basically pass in the account ID. So in this case, like we're building this app for guitar teachers to accept payments from their students. And so in this case, when we're going to redirect someone to the Express dashboard, that would be like the guitar teacher is logged in, they're authenticated, and they want to go see their Express dashboard where they can manage payments and such. And so we need to take in the account ID of the guitar teacher, and then we're going to redirect them to the Express dashboard. Again, this is like not super idiomatic Ruby, right? Like, and in fact, like we should just be able to say redirect to link.url here instead of rendering back the JSON. So let's go try to figure out where that Express dashboard link thing was used. So we're going to say Express dashboard link and look for that in here. And it looks like it's not. Okay, so on the client, there is supposed to be some. When no accounts are enabled, this provides a way to log in as an Express account to finish the onboarding process. Okay, so, yeah, I guess like maybe we want to have some other like route here. Maybe we'll call another route like my or like account HTML or something. And what we can do is just add like a very simple link on the page or like a form on the page that will redirect directly to the Express dashboard for a given account. So yeah, let's just like remove everything, and we'll add like a little form here that says we'll make the action go to like express dashboard, and the method will be post, and we'll make a just like a button that says like view my dashboard, view like my teacher dashboard. I don't know, sure. Now, if we go directly to this route, account.html or whatever, okay, we have this nice button. When we click on view my dashboard, we are going to make a post request to this express dashboard thing, which is going to be some route here that's going to be like this. Let's see, express dashboard, and it's going to be a post request. We'll pull in params account. I guess we need to, yeah, we need to like have another account dropdown that shows the list of accounts. And then we're going to create a login link. Actually, hold on a sec. Yeah, we can just use this post express dashboard. All right. And then I don't know what, okay, whatever. This is, I don't know why there was parens around that. Maybe there's something fancy. Oh, Andrew, you're working on some Stripe stuff. Yeah, let me know. I like in DM. I'm curious what you're working on. If you have feedback or, yeah, some Stripe stuff at Podia sounds like it might be super related to what we're working on here because this is Connect and it's Ruby and I don't know. So yeah, Stripe Connect. Okay, so we're going to create a login link and then we're going to redirect to the login link. Let's. Okay, so we need to, as part of that form that we just created on this accounts page, we also need to pass in some account ID. So recall that in this index thing, we had a drop-down list of accounts. So somewhere here we have, yeah, we have like this little div, and that was populated with some JavaScript from the, yeah, that was populated with some JavaScript from this thing that says, actually like, okay, enabled accounts select is the ID of the select box. And so this is running, okay, so where do we call setup accounts? Okay, we're calling fetch config. Okay, I guess I'm just gonna load script on the account page too, which we are, and let's just see if it loads account.html. Super cool. Nice. So it should have loaded a list of accounts. It did not. Why did it not? Let's see. There's a lot of errors. Can't read property null of undefined while listening to something. So update window. Okay. I guess update quantity. How do we want to do this? Fetch the 10 most recent accounts. Yeah. So the way that it was written, it totally expected that this JavaScript was only going to be on one page. So we're going to get a little creative here in trying to figure out how to separate these out. Okay. So document dot. Okay. So all of this stuff is like initializing the quantity control. So initialize quantity control is some function that does all of this stuff. And then update quantity array from, listening to the click handler, et cetera. Like all of this stuff is inside of some function that we're going to call initialize quantity control. And what we want to do is on both pages, we always want to fetch config. And then if, okay, it says if setup accounts is not, okay. So I'm wondering if we actually want to just say window.config there and then move update quantity or like initialize quantity into index.js and just like right after we load, right after we load script.js and do all the things, we'll actually just call like initialize quantity control. And the reason why I want to do that is I want to separate out the initialization of the quantity control and like setting up accounts, because I want this setup accounts thing to work for both pages, for both the index and the account page. And then also this express dashboard thing is like, I don't think this is shown anywhere. Disabled accounts form, disabled accounts form. Oh, it is. Okay, it's just hidden. All right, so maybe we should redirect to it if it's, okay, I'm not sure what we want to do with that yet. So, let's see, set up accounts. Yeah, like I almost wonder if we want to move this into another like initialize. Yeah, let's see. How do we want to do that? Set up disabled accounts form. This one we can just wrap in another like function that is only run when we are in need of this thing. Okay. So then we can call that too, set up disabled accounts form. And now we should get, okay, script line 7. What is this? Okay. Does it not know that the script is updated? Okay. Cool. All right. So now it's not being called, right? Right. Wait, what? Good. Okay. So it's not being called, but now this dropdown is not working as expected because, oh, right. We don't want to call update quantity anymore. Unless, yeah. Okay. We're on that other page. Okay. So then is this, okay, this is not, cannot read properties null of reading class list. So when we're calling, oh, okay, so we're missing some HTML from the spinner. All right, so we'll grab, actually, let's grab some of this styling too for the account page. And we will drop that in there. And it looks like we're wrapping with 2 divs. Okay, much cleaner. We've got a spinner. Oh, and look at that. Now we've got accounts. Okay, so now if I say wave +2 and click on plus, yeah, it's trying to bring us to this express dashboard thing, which now that I see how that other thing works, I kind of want to like undo this part and then make this a get request. So that over here in the script, when we say express dashboard, yeah, so that's still going to be a get request. And then on our account page, we can make this just a get request, which is the default. So we can just do that. And then we are going to continue passing our name. Do we want it to be name or account or account ID? I can't remember. Account ID. So this should actually be, oh, we're flying around. We're flying around. Sorry for switching around too much. We should have account ID here. I'm also seeing that like the quality here is low. Connection is unstable. Can you all hear me? I don't know. Let's see. All right. Fast.com. How fast are we going, fast.com? All right. Doesn't seem that bad. Okay, so let's head back over here. And then again, we want our express dashboard to be a get request. Cool. All right. Thanks for confirming, Andrew. Express dashboard link. All right. So this is going to be a get request. All right. So if we go to like /account.html, we load up our connected accounts. Now, if we pick a specific teacher and click view my teacher dashboard, we should be redirected. Nice. Okay, super cool. So this is going to be the Express dashboard for the Express Stripe Connect account. So I was texted a little number here. Don't share this with anyone except all of the people on the live stream. Okay. Nice. All right, here we go. So this is our Express dashboard where we can see different payments that we've received. as a guitar teacher, guitar hero. Super cool. All right. All right. So that's working. What else do we have in the server here? We've got the webhook. Okay, so we have our webhook handler, which is handling checkout session completed. This event.type, we can just use like the normal dot notation for Ruby. Event.data.object. There's a couple of like edge cases in Python, but in Ruby, it's totally fine to just use this. And in fact, this I think is actually this is the wrong thing. This is like not the connected account ID. This should be session. Oh wait, no, that is right. That is right. Okay. So the checkout session is going to contain all of this stuff about the purchase. And then the event object at the very top level for a connected account event is where we find the account ID. So now we're saying like handle the checkout session. Now, what's interesting is that since this was written, we also started adding a couple other types of checkout session being completed, and not all of them have a successful payment anymore. So now what we need to do is like inside of the fulfillment for handling a checkout session, we actually need to print out like the payment status. So we'll say, maybe we'll say like checkout or like, yeah, paid status is session dot, oh gosh, what is this? All right, so for the checkout session object should now have a payment status property. And that's going to be one of paid, unpaid, or no payment required, which is like the setup mode one. But what's interesting is that, again, like since this sample was originally written, we now have two different events we need to listen for. One is checkout session completed, but the other is checkout session dot payment, like async payment something something. Oh gosh, let's see. Yeah, there's like another type of event that's going to fire when a check-in or the checkout session succeeds asynchronously. So this becomes important in the case where you're using a delayed notification payment method. And so let's like talk about that for a second. So like with cards in the US, we're all used to cards, right? You can swipe your card. And what's nice about cards is you like immediately can verify as like the person that's selling something that the money is there, and you can like have the money basically. But in a delayed payment scenario, where, for instance, if you're using a boleto or a voucher-based payment system in Latin America or OXXO in Mexico, right? Like the way that works is you actually print out like a voucher and you take it down to the corner store. And when you print out the voucher, your checkout session is completed. But then when you go down to the store, you take this like piece of paper down to the store and you scan the code or the barcode, the QR code at the store, and you pay cash. That's what actually like ultimately confirms the payment, is you paying cash at the store. And so that happens like out of bounds some other time down the road, maybe a day later, 2 days later, or whatever. And so similarly, some bank transactions take a couple days to land. And so when we're talking about async payment succeeded, this is us listening for that future event where we know, okay, the payment is successful. So if someone is paying for guitar lessons and they're using OXXO, then we want to make sure that we're handling the checkout session later down the road. And we're also like, fulfilling based on the status of that checkout session later. Again, we can sort of like improve this a little bit in terms of our Ruby stuff by using string interpolation here. I don't know why that format looks weird. Oh, it's because okay. It's like, it looks like a comment. It's not a comment. Okay. So that should be handling the checkout session. Now, how do we actually test the webhook handler? Well, because we're talking about connect, we need to set up a webhook handler that will forward events to our locally running server. So I'm going to use the Stripe CLI. So Stripe listen forward to localhost 4242/webhook. I think that is the endpoint, right? So this is going to be receiving post requests to /webhook. Now, you'll also notice that in our webhook handler, we're expecting that the environment variables has a Stripe webhook signing secret. And this is like the thing that checks to verify that the post request came from Stripe and only Stripe. And we're going to see that as soon as we run this this Stripe CLI command to start the listener. But before we start the listener, we don't want to just do forward to. So forward to is for all of our account events that are happening on our own account. But if we're talking about connect, we also need to forward the connect account events. And I feel like I actually don't remember Stripe listen -- help. Let's see. We also want the connect events. How do we get the connect events? Listen forward to, let's see, Stripe listen forward to localhost 4242/webhook -- help. Give me the other one. What is the connected account one? Oh, here we go. Forward connect to. It is -c. So -c. And this is going to be the same, like the same endpoint for both our localhost 4242/webhook. For both of our account endpoint, our account events, and our connected accounts events. So we're going to use the same sort of route and the same webhook handler to handle both events. But yeah. So, okay. So you notice like this printed out a thing. This is like our webhook signing secret. Every single webhook endpoint that you create with Stripe is going to have its own unique webhook signing secret. So if you make one in the dashboard, it'll have a webhook signing secret. And if you make one with the Stripe CLI right here, that'll have a different webhook signing secret. And each of those is so that you can go to the code for that specific endpoint and make sure that it is verifying those post requests came just from Stripe. So if we restart the server here, and then go back through our payment flow. So let's just go to like localhost 4242. And maybe this time we will buy, I don't know, like, oh gosh. Oh, okay, this is fun. So we introduced a bug where like if you click on the plus button now, it checks you out because it thinks that we're submitting the form, but we're totally not submitting the form. All right, so let's go fix that. All right, so we want to jump over here and we want to go back to our index.html page and where we have our increment button. I'm actually just going to make these A's. I don't know. I think whatever. We've got like some CSS that we can use, and I think this might work. Let's see. So can we increment? No. Stop submitting. Okay, we don't want it to submit. We want this button to be the only submit. Type submit. Okay, so I feel like Connor just recently posted like an entire blog post about handling different, like multiple different buttons inside of a inside of a form. And I feel like we want this to have some sort of, yeah, like link in form is submitting. Oh gosh. We don't want it to submit. Use it. Yeah. Okay. Gosh. Who knows the answer? Who knows the answer? It's not type submit. It's the other type, like input type not submit. What is the, yeah, what, gosh. Okay. Mozilla, are you going to come to the rescue? Input type is submit. And then how can we change it to not be submit? Type, is it just type button or something? Input type button. Okay. There are push buttons which can be programmed to control custom functionality. Can I put that on like a button, on a button class? Type button. Okay, so I think that might actually be the change that we want to make, is make this type button. Let's see. Type button. What are you going to try to solve? Input type button. Hey, Giant Gosling. What we're trying to solve right now is that we have like a little bug in our application that is making it so that when we click on the increment button here, it's actually submitting the form. And we don't want to submit the form. We want it to like increment. Also, I see that we lost our like pay stuff down here. So a lot of our JavaScript is like not happy anymore. So, okay, so we have this initialized quantity control thing. So we're gonna have to do some like JavaScript debugging here. Okay, here we go. Reading event listener of null. Oh, you know what I think is happening maybe is we're running this JavaScript before like those elements are on the page. Type range. Yeah, I think we could use type range because we should be using. Oh, nice. Okay. So that sort of fixed some of it. Yeah, like we probably should have written this as a range input originally, right? Like instead of having these different buttons, but someone, yeah, like when it was originally built, we didn't use the range. Let's try that out though. Let's just see what it looks like. So input type range, and let's see. Oh, what? Nice. Okay, that's cool. I do think we want this quantity thing though. Like we want the button, right? Like the increment decrement button. And I think we're pretty close actually now. Like what is this? Config is not defined at some point when we're trying to use the config. And that's because we're calling update quantity. Yeah, that's because we're calling update quantity before the config exists. So we actually sort of need to do these two things like after we fetch config. Yeah, how do we want to do this? So we set up the accounts. Then we have window.config. We could get super hacky and just like, okay, yeah, hold on a sec. Yeah, let's make another function here called like fetch config. And this will be an async function. And we'll just put like all this stuff inside of it. And we will return this thing. And then what we will do is on our client here, we'll say fetch config dot then do all of this other stuff. I think, I don't know. Let's see if that works. Console, no errors. Okay, now we see our complete payment. All right, we're incrementing, we're decrementing. Click on complete payment. And all right, that was $10. That was a little too easy. Not easy, like we didn't actually confirm that it's passing the right quantity and stuff. So let's try $40 to wave to at cjavdev. Okay, fantastic. Okay, this is super cool. All right, so that's working as expected. Now we've got, we're able to like sort of check out there. Oh gosh, okay, sorry, giant Gosling. I like left your message up on the screen the whole time. Okay, so then yeah, Andrew was like, oh, should we use the type range? I think that range thing, that range slider is super cool. But we would probably need to listen. I don't know, like how do we listen for and then display like the number of hours with the range as it's sliding? I don't know. Okay, now what we want to do is keep working on this count.html thing. Like this seems like it's probably working, maybe. Okay, no, we broke this too. Because now it's like, yeah, now it's not actually fetching this. Oh, nice. Okay, so the range emits a change event when it's changed. Sweet. So we could probably listen to like how many hours, yeah, like how many hours did they pick on this, on the range, the slider. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Okay. And then I guess like over in our account form, we still need to call like fetch config. And maybe, I don't know. Oh, I guess, oh, this is, sorry, you're no longer defer. You have to load before everyone else so that everything is happy. And okay. Now this is sad because setup accounts doesn't have, what is the wrapper? The wrapper is enabled accounts section. Okay, what is that? Enabled accounts section. Oh, section to display. Okay, so let's make that a little better because we don't need that. Enabled accounts section. So I'll just say like if wrapper, then we'll do all this stuff because we won't have the wrapper in some cases, but we will in others. And that should be just fine. And it didn't work. Okay. Hmm. Oh, wait, what? Oh, we only use the wrapper down here. Okay, so if wrapper. Changing this stuff too quickly, I think, maybe. All right, but that's working now. All right, fantastic. We can view the teacher dashboard. This is so cool. Stripe Express is super nice because you have this dashboard that you can go look at and you can see these payments that are coming in. And yeah. All right, let's go write it in 6 other languages. Okay, so now that we have sort of a working front end, let's go rewrite it in Python. So let's see. So like, yeah, updating Ruby and the client. I probably shouldn't have committed directly to master. Yeah, let's get reset soft. Get reset head hat soft. Get checkout. Make a new branch called like upgrading to new checkout or something. Same message, and then we will, okay. So for Python, so we're gonna cd into the server, into Python, and we need to like create a virtual environment. So we'll say python-m venv, I think. We might need to say Python 3. I can't remember what the M1's like what we get. So we're gonna source venv bin activate. That's gonna activate the virtual environment. And then we want to install our dependencies. So there's this requirements.txt thing at the root. So we should be able to say pip install-r requirements.txt. That'll install a bunch of dependencies, and some of them are unhappy. Okay, so let's open up server.py and see what we actually need. What is random used for? App.secret key, that's not... Okay, I don't know what this is. So I don't think we need random. Yeah, string. We don't need string. OS, we need that for environment variables. We need stripe for obvious reasons. URL lib, what are we using that for? Nothing. Okay, so I'm gonna go back in here and just try to like delete everything. I don't know. Can I do that? No. We definitely need stripe. Okay, actually, let's look at the requirements file for another working, newer Python implementation that has like fine stuff. Hey, Chris, how's it going? We're still hacking. We're hanging out. We've been here for like almost an hour, and you missed all the Ruby stuff. We're now going to do Python. So this is all the requirements that we should need. Flask. A .n for loading environment variables, and then stripe. So I think, yeah, let's try installing dependencies like that. So we'll come back over here, pip install-r requirements. And okay, so now, Andrew and Chris up in the comments or up chatting. Okay, so we'll grab .n from the Ruby server and we'll paste that into Python. And then now we should be able to say like Python server.py and fire up our Python server if our Sinatra server was closed. Okay, so Python server.py. Okay, so that should have fired up a server. And oh, wow, look at that. Okay, so we can still increment and decrement, but now our submission should no longer work because we changed our sort of contract with our client. So because we updated the HTML to work with our new Ruby backend, now we have to go into our Python backend and update to make all of the same changes. Okay, so we'll jump over to Python and we'll open this thing up and we will look at our Python code. So we have a root route, we have this compute application fee, we have a route for receiving receiving a post request to create checkout session. Remember that we're no longer sending JSON with an AJAX request from the client back to the server, but instead what we're doing now is we are passing back just like form encoded JSON. So I can't actually remember what Flask form encoded params, like how do we get the body in Flask? It's probably just, okay, request.form gives you a dict. That seems like it should probably work as expected. So we can just say like request.form and then access it. So for now, we'll just say that like params is actually, let's just pull it directly off of here. So request.form, and we'll hope that this gives us the quantity, and we can sort of confirm that in a couple different ways. And then what we did for Ruby is we switched from just pulling directly out of the env, and we made it a little bit more stable by saying like, get me this environment variable, and if it's not defined, then give me a default using fetch. I'm not sure if os.get env in Python has a way of specifying a default. So let's see if that can just take a second argument. Oh yeah, totally. So then we'll just like say default is $10 or 10 cents or 1,000 cents or whatever the lowest currency is. Okay, and then we can also say default for here is going to be like localhost 4242. And we call it domain, but it's actually like the base URL. I don't know. I think that was a bad naming choice that we made early on, but whatever. Okay, so we're going to create a session, a checkout session again, and we're passing again the domain URL. Again, remember, we want to remove payment method types from everything because we're now going to use automatic payment methods that are defined in the dashboard, even for connected accounts. And what's really neat about that is we can enable ACH now as of yesterday. So that's super cool. Now, remember that our line items need some like price or price data. In this case, we're going to use price data to dynamically create something that has an amount and a currency. And in the world where we're using price data instead of a line item, we need to specify unit amount instead of just like a raw amount. Currency is going to be USD. And then the name and images are actually going to be inside of the price data, nested under product data. So we're going to say product data. And when we say price data or product data here, what we're doing is we are creating the price object and we're creating the product object ad hoc. And one really interesting way to think about this is that price data, when we say underscore data, that is sort of the params to create a price object. When we say product underscore data, that is the params to create a product object. The way that I like to think about it is sort of like accepts nested attributes for with Rails, where like when you say underscore attributes, you know that you're sort of accepting in some data that is going to be used to create a nested resource like underneath some object. So I don't know, hopefully that helps how you kind of like think about the that naming convention. So I don't know. Okay. Hey, Sky. Yes, this will be available to watch later. I'll just leave it up and you can come back and take a look. I recognize folks probably got to like bounce around right at the hour, but yeah, totally welcome to come watch this later. Okay, so request form for the account. So we're going to say request.form for account. And then again, instead of just rendering back the JSON and handling it client side, here we actually want to redirect. And so I think there is a Flask method called redirect. Yep. And that takes in the URL you want to redirect to, session.url, and some code. I think we want to actually use like 303 for these, like the C other code or whatever. All right, let's get rid of some of these tabs. Localhost 4242. And we'll check and see if our Python implementation is similar enough to our server implementation. And it looks like, okay, so I'm just going to take a wild guess and say that the server didn't restart automatically. Yeah, okay, so for Flask, when you start up the app, you can say app.run, and if you pass in debug is true, then that will, it's like sort of like Sinatra reload in that like it should reload automatically for you. It looks like we also missed some comma or something. Let's see. Line items. Oh, here we go. Missing a comma there. And we'll just put one here just for safe measure. Okay, so let's try this again. Fire up the server. Go to localhost 4242. And okay, let's try to buy $20 worth of guitar lessons. Ah, right. You must provide mode. We made the same mistake with Ruby. So you must provide mode when we switch to the price pattern instead of the line items pattern. We need to specify a mode of payment in this case because it's a one-time payment, but we could also do setup or setup intent where we're just collecting payment details but not actually charging for anything. Or we can do subscription, which is to set up a recurring payment. Refresh the page, and we're redirected to checkout. So that is sweet. Okay, that's working great. And then if we just go to like account.html, I can't remember if and what we changed on the server for this. So does this just work? No. Oh, right. Okay. So the server is just rendering back some JSON. And before it was expecting that the client was going to use that JSON to actually like redirect client side, but we're going to instead just use like a redirect here. So we'll say redirect, and we'll redirect server side. Just simplifies things a little bit. And then here again, we want to like have a default of like something so that just in case that base price doesn't end up getting set inside of the .n file, that we can still successfully redirect and stuff. Okay, view my teacher dashboard. Boom, we were redirected to the Express dashboard again. And again, I probably got some text message here. Yep, 940, 780. Okay. And we're logged in. We're logged into the Express dashboard. Okay, so that's all working good. I think that might actually be sort of all, oh no, right, okay. So for server.rb, which we have over here, we added event, oh yeah, so checkout session async payment succeeded. And then we also added another check down here to print the session's payment status. So let's do the same for Python, and we'll say, what is the session.payment status? And we can print that out. All right, and then the other thing we want to do is these actually, I can't remember, does Python, yeah, okay. Gosh, is it only type? Like, does type work? Let's see. I think we can just use dot notation for Python, but I feel like there is one where we can't use, maybe it's data. It's either data or type. Because like the underlying dictionary has like a getter or like a reader for that same name. So there's like some sort of conflict, which I don't remember right now. But what we can do is we can go back through our process, our like checkout process, and pay successfully. Again, I want to like just play around with ACH some more. So if I click on complete payment, I think the other thing we can do here is we can actually use, we can say we want to enter bank account details manually, and this will go through the micro deposit verification flow, which ends up being like slower, but okay, expect a 1 cent deposit to this account in 1 to 2 business days. We click done. And then I think we receive an email with a link to a Stripe hosted page, but I'm not 100% sure. Anyways, that should at least tell us whether or not so our checkout session in this case is unpaid. We get like checkout session completed and it's unpaid, and that's like fine. And then later on you go to confirm the checkout session with those micro deposits. So yeah, the customer will receive an email when like that's done. But in order to do that, we also need to add checkout session async payment succeeded as a second event type. So we want both checkout session completed and checkout session.async payment succeeded so that we can handle all these new different payment method types. Okay, I think we're in a good spot now with Python. Let's go and talk about what's the next one we should do. Any preferences in the comments? Should we do Node, Java, Go, .NET? What do you want to do next? PHP? I guess we could do PHP. You let me know. Adding Python servers. Getting to new checkout. Okay. All right, let's see. Which one do we want to do? Let's do PHP next. PHP is a little bit weird because, this one is going to be pretty significant because we need to change from, we don't want to use Slim anymore. The Slim framework is, the Slim framework is super confusing, and folks who write PHP have been frustrated with us using Slim because that's usually not what they use. And so we want to use some framework that is a little bit easier. So we want to like convert it to vanilla PHP. So this one is a little bit more significant. I'm going to save that, and let's do Node first. Oh, also in Python, we didn't update our, we didn't update it to set our versioning stuff that we want to set. So let's go over to the server, look at our current best practices here. And we want, so this is like so that we can see how the samples are being used. And if there's any errors, we can like go and work on fixing those. Okay, this one again is called connect direct charge checkout. And the API version, we want to explicitly set it. We don't want to pull it out of the API version or out of the environment variables because we want to make sure that everyone is using exactly the same version. Because if someone has like a super old API version, for instance, maybe from 2013 or 2014, then the behavior of the actual API might work differently. And so the sample might not actually run for them. All right, so that's enough of that. Let's go do Node. And while we're here, we might as well do this same sort of server upgrade for Node. So let's look at the server here. And we want to pass in, oh, we're not actually doing it for Node. Okay, that's, oh no, this is, that's right. This is the one we want to, okay. Server, Node. That's the one we're working on, not the one we need to fix. Okay, here we go. So for Node, we want to use this pattern where we pass in the API key, and then we also pass in this like app info stuff. Again, this is like not required for production, but it is super handy for us to know how, if there's any errors and such with the versions of the samples that folks are using. Okay, the session, we actually don't need a session as far as I know. And we can actually remove that. Body parser, I think that was like added recently or something to Node. It's so hard to keep track of all this stuff. Okay, you know what we do need though is we need to say app.use express URL encoded. We need to use the URL encoded express middleware so that we can receive post requests from the front end and pull off the quantity and the account ID from the front end. And if, so here we want to say like, if the process.end.base price, or we want to do like, I don't know, $10, and we're going to create a checkout session. Okay, we've got a dog. He's barking. Hey, oh, I don't know. Someone must be outside. So let's remove the payment method types. We're going to add mode payment. Keep forgetting that. Then we're going to add, inside of our line items, we're going to add price data. And, oh, Stanley. Some other dog outside having tons of fun? Product data. Oh, gosh. I don't know. So Stanley is a standard poodle. And he is, he has this friend that lives across the street. And his friend is a golden retriever. And anytime he hears his friend outside, he's like, I want to go outside. Please, can I go outside? Let me out. Let me out of the box. I want to go have fun. Okay. So we've got a currency, a unit amount, a product data. We've got our quantity. We're setting all this stuff. Oh, look at this. We've got string interpolation for Node. I love it. We're passing our Stripe account ID. And then we want to redirect. So res.send. No, it's not that. What is it? Res.redirect. And then I think in Node, it's like the status code first and then the URL. I don't know. We'll have to see. All right. So if we jump over to where are we running this server, we'll jump to Node and say npm install our dependencies. In fact, we can probably look at that package JSON and make sure we actually need everything that's in here. Yeah, because I don't think we need all of it. So All right, and then we can say node, let's see, node server or npm. Actually, we need to copy our environment variable to here. And now we can say npm run, or yeah, npm run start, I think is the thing. Yeah, see, body parts are deprecated. Okay, so it's, I think that's part of Express now or something. Like it's like built in. Am I remembering that incorrectly? And then what else is going on here? 500. What's our 500? Sources, network. We got a 500 on just trying to get, oh, invalid Stripe API version. Okay, so I am guessing, this is a wild guess, but I'm guessing that's related to the version of Stripe node we're using. So I'm going to try to pull up the current repo for Stripe node here. And what version are we on now? 8.213. 8.213. Wow, that's quite a jump. Okay. All right, well, let's npm install again and try this again. Wow, we've been talking for an hour and 15. We're going well. What's everyone working on? Have you tried the new Remix Run, framework? What do you think about it? What are your thoughts? Yeah, curious to hear if folks are, yeah, actually, what web framework are you using? Are you using a web framework? Are you just watching because you're like, this is mesmerizing and I like to hear the sound of keys clacking? Yeah. Okay, can we start the server now? What do we think? Let's try it. npm run start. All right, it's going. We jump over to localhost. Is it going to be happy or sad about our, okay, config route now is returning the right numbers. We can check out and pay. Nice, $40. Nice, we've got a card, we've got this stuff. So another cool thing about checkout is that you can use secure customer authentication. I don't know if you knew about this, but in Europe, there's like this regulation that says that you may or may not be required to present a second form of authentication. So you're going to get a pop-up that's like from your bank asking you for a one-time code or free to log in or something. And so you can test that out with this special card, 4025, and then 3155 is the ending. And yeah, we successfully checked out, but we have like a bunch of errors. Response is not defined. So I think my guess is that this is, okay, server 124. All right, let's see. Back to server 124. This is in the webhook handler. Yeah, okay, so I am guessing this is just res. Yeah, so res instead of response. Response 124. This should just be res. Okay, and then we also want to add checkout session, payment completed async, whatever, payment. Nope. What's it called? Payment. Async payment succeeded. So async payment succeeded. Okay, great. And again, we want to pass like the session or like payment status is session dot payment status. Oh no, I forgot what it is already. On the session object, on the checkout session object, we have some sort of status. Yeah, payment status. There we go. All right. What else do we need to do here? Okay, I think this is actually looking pretty good. We are redirecting. Oh, right. And then from our Express dashboard, instead of sending back the URL, what we want to do is, oh, wow, this is like a super old way of using Stripe Node. So here we're creating a login link and then passing in the params. And we used to accept a third argument, which was a callback that would let you redirect. Let me see if this even works anymore. So if we go to account, I guess we got to start the server again. We go to this account page and then try to log in. What happens? Whoa, okay, it still totally works. Wow, I'm surprised. Okay, so we want to make this a little bit more modern and say like const link is await that thing, and then, or yeah, maybe we can call it login link, and then yeah, I guess that did have some error handling that we're losing here, but response.redirect 303 to that URL. There's definitely, like, in every single one of these cases, we should be wrapping these in try catch handlers, and that's something we can come back and do later. I just want to make sure that we have everything sort of upgraded and that it is working as expected. So I think, oh, right. And then I guess, like, if we want this to automatically reload too, we need to use like nodemon or something. Okay, so we go back to localhost, go to our /account page. Is this going to work as expected? View my teacher dashboard. Boom. Okay, cool. All right, let's see. What else do we have? We need to, okay, I think Node might actually be ready. Like, I think it's good. We don't need to pass that. Cool. Yeah, there was a couple like old school things here. Oh, look at Stripe accounts is doing the same thing. Okay, so we can remove this and put it down here. And then we can say const accounts is await. Yeah. And then what we want to do is make this an async function for config. And we're just passing in this limit 10, so that's pretty low key. And now when we refresh, as long as this loads, we know that endpoint is working fine. Okay, cool. Was there anything else here we wanted to clean up in particular? I don't think so. So let's call node done, and let's play around with Java. So Java is a little bit trickier. Like upgrade Node and Python. Okay. All right, so we're going to jump into Java. We'll grab the .env again from Ruby, and then we will, let's look at pom.xml because there's a bunch of dependencies that we used to need that I don't think we need anymore. Like this JSON dependency, I don't think we need this JSON one. And Project Lombok, I don't think we need that. Also, Stripe Java is like way beyond there. Stripe Java. So Stripe Java, the current version of Stripe Java is version 20. Wow. Okay. 20 dot, I think it's 110.0. So, okay. Jar with dependencies. Okay. Okay, so the way that we install dependencies with Java is with Maven. So we say Maven package, and that should install dependencies, and we cross our fingers and hope that it works, and it doesn't work. Okay, so cannot find symbol server and JSON and a couple other things. So if we go back, yeah, actually, I wonder if we do need this actually, this JSON thing. Yeah, probably. Okay, because I think we're using that for, I think we're using it to do like JSON parsing and JSON formatting, or I don't know, JSON, some JSON stuff. So Maven package, is this going to work? I don't know, we'll see. Oh wow, look at that. Okay, I think it installed. Okay, so it's at least building correctly, and then in the README it gives us this thing that's like, okay, run this command that should like start up the server. What I want to do is Maven package and run that startup thing so that we have one single command that we can run to restart the server every time that we want to. And what we're going to do is just head back over to localhost here and refresh the page and hope that everything still works. It looks like it might. I don't know. 400 error. Okay, so I think it's expecting that we're going to pass it some JSON, but we're totally not. We're passing it we're passing it form encoded data now. So the post body that's coming in has a quantity and an account, but I don't know if we need to have like a whole class for receiving that or not. So like I think this is using like Java Spark. And when we receive a post request for Java Spark, the response type is not application JSON. We don't need to parse it. I don't think we need to parse it into request body. Ooh, and Java is still using, okay, so this implementation here is still using the older style where we build up a bunch of hash maps and then use those as the arguments to pass instead of types. So in Java, we have this builder pattern where we can like use builders to build up the params that we ultimately send to the Stripe API. So we'll go back through and update all of that in just a second. But first I want to see like Java Spark HTML or like form encoded body. How do we handle the form encoded body with Java Spark? Is it just request.query params? Let's see. That seems like it might be too easy, right? Quantity and maybe we need to like also cast it to an integer. How does that work? Get quantity or long quantity is equal to this thing, and then yeah, like casting Java Spark query param to long. Let's see. String utils. Does anybody know? Anyone in the comments? Do you know how to cast it to a long? Because it's going to come in as a string, I'm sure. And I don't know if we can just straight up cast it or if we need to do something fancy. Value of, maybe something like that. Let's see. What was it doing before? Get quantity. I assume that it was using, yeah, it was using JSON so that when you call get quantity, it was like parsing it with JSON as part of the request body. But we're okay. I don't know. Let's just see if this yells at us. And then the base price here is going to be, or maybe can we do that? Can we just say like new long and we pass in the quantity that we receive from the front end? I don't know. I wonder if that'll work. And then .env.get. So java.env get with default. Let's see if this has a helper for getting. So C Damascio, Carmen Damascio is this is the library that we use for loading environment variables, and it does look like we can pass a default value. So let's use that also here, where we say domain. This is going to be localhost 4242, and then for the base price we'll say 1,000, and for okay. All right, so we've got our quantity coming in, so we don't need this anymore. And we have our base price that's coming from the environment variable. And then we are starting to build up the params for the checkout session. So what I'm going to do is actually go to the API reference for creating checkout sessions, and I'm going to look at the Java one. And oh gosh, no, this one uses hash maps also. Okay, do we have stripe.com/docs quick start? I'm hoping this one has like the builder params for checkout. So Java, show me the Java params. Here we go. This is what we want. We want like the builder pattern for creating all the params. It's just like so much nicer than the hash map stuff, right? Okay, so we're going to create a new instance of a session create params. Instead of just a hash map, we're going to use the classes that are built into Stripe Java to like make a much better sort of experience here. Okay, and then what we were doing before with our success URL was we were just concatenating domain URL with whatever. So now we're going to say, let's actually just grab that from here. So where was it? Okay. I'm going to paste it just so I can grab onto this last part. And then, oops, gosh. Okay, Vim, it's like hard to like do a yank in thing and replace like while I'm talking at the same time. So, okay, here we go. So we want to grab this thing and we want to replace this thing with that so that we have the cancel URL. Okay, so what this is doing is it's setting the mode to payment. That's good. It's adding a line item. And in this case, it's setting the quantity here, but we want to actually use the quantity that we got in from the client. And then we're going to set price data. And this will define the amount that we want to charge. So this is going to be base price. Currency is hard coded to USD. I think in the other servers, this was called guitar lessons or something. Let's double check server.rb, name, guitar lesson. And then we had some images here. And those were, so, okay, so now in order to do images for this builder pattern, we need to call like .add image. Anytime we're adding an item to an array with this builder pattern, we name the method on the builder add. Whenever we're setting a value, we call set. So in Stripe Java, those are like the two patterns that work or that we work with to build up the params. We have an add and we have a set. So add is when we're adding things to a list, and set is when we're setting. All right. So now we've got this one line item. It has price data. It has the currency, the unit amount, and then we have our product data with our two things. I think that might be it. I'm not 100% sure. And then we're redirecting, right? We don't want payment method types anymore. We don't need this anymore. Currency line items. Okay. Oh, right. But we do need to set like add the application fee. So in order for us to add the application fee, I need to actually go look this up. How do we do this with Connect for Stripe Java? I can't remember if we can. If we can just directly add to the params object, or, oh, we can, okay, here we go. Request options is a second argument, maybe. So like we can call session.create, we have params, and we have request params, and request params is where we're going to have the account ID. So we need to build a request params object, and we're going to set the account ID based on what was passed into us. So we got both a quantity and an account in the query string. The account is going to come in as just a string ID. So this is going to be account ID. And here, down here, we'll say this is going to be our account ID. And then we're going to create the checkout session. We're going to redirect to its URL. But this, like, none of this stuff actually works either until we have, oh gosh, what is it called? None of this works until we have a wrapper around it, because this create call could raise an exception, and in Java, like, it won't build unless you wrap those in a try catch, which I think is good. I think it's good practice. Oh, look, this was already, yeah, okay. So this was already sort of how it was working, and we got success and cancel. We don't need that part. Okay, we still do need this application fee amount on payment intent params. So as part of our session create builder, I think we can say .set payment intent. Oh, let's just go find it. Go Stripe Java. And in our payment intent create, in the payment intent create params class inside of Java, we're going to have like a, oh no, I guess it's like checkout session create. Checkout session create params. We should have a like set payment intent. Okay, so set payment intent data. Set payment intent data. And that is going to be one of payment intent data, which is going to come off of the session create param. Like, it's another class. So session create params. So inside of Stripe Java, all of these builders that are related to the params for some top level param that we're passing into an API, they're all nested underneath the classes So this payment intent data is a class that's nested inside of the session create params class. So if we find like class payment intent, yeah, so payment intent data, it's a static class inside of the session create params class. And it will have a bunch of stuff here that lets us call like dot builder, dot build. And then here we can call like dot set. Oh gosh, it's going to be like set amount of something. Set application fee amount. Here we go. Okay. Set the application fee amount to some amount. And we do need to calculate what that amount is. And I'm hoping there's some helper down here that's already figured that out. Yeah, so compute application fee amount must be some helper similar to the other languages that is doing this for us. So now we're going to have this here. So we'll say, oh gosh. Yeah, okay, I messed that all up. All right, so set application fee amount to that. All right, so let's see if this actually works, maybe. No, oh yeah, we got to wrap this part in a try catch. So try accept stripe exception. I think it's not accept, it must be like catch. And then if we are successful in creating our checkout session, we want to redirect. Otherwise, we want to, I don't know, like log something out and then response, I don't know, like we want to return response dot, I don't know actually, json dot to JSON of like, I don't I'm not sure what we want to respond with yet. Like we can pull off the error message from that exception and like try to return that, but for now we'll just, yeah, we'll keep it like this. All right. Okay, so where are we at? Are we ready to try this out yet? Localhost 4242. Okay, complete payment. 500 error. What's our error? Oh, you know what? We need to restart the server. Every time we make changes to this, we have to like rebuild everything and rerun it. And now that I added things, I wrote like a bunch of code without testing it out. So we're going to need com.stripe.param.checkout.session create params. See if it builds now. It does not. And what is it? Incompatible types, bad return in Lambda, missing return value in line 72. Okay, so do I need to return this? Let's see. Okay, int cannot be converted to string, string cannot be converted to long on line 74. 74. Oh, right, we don't want this to be a long, we want this to be a string. Okay. And 75, int cannot be converted to string. 75. Int, oh, okay, huh, interesting. Okay, getting warmer. Can't find the symbol on line 81. Domain URL? Oh, did we define that somewhere else? Shoot. Okay, yeah, okay, so string domain URL is .env.get domain, and the default is localhost 4242. See if that fixes that. Oh, all right. Well, yeah, sort of. And then 85. What do we got on 85? Gosh, so many errors. Okay, so compute application base fee amount is expecting an int as the base price. So can we just make this in int? I don't know. Does that work? Int? I don't know. Int, maybe. 75? Yeah, apparently not. Okay, let's just make this compute application fee amount. Let's make this take in. Oh wait, it does. Huh. Wait, how about we return along our, wait, can we do that? 54, double can't be converted to long. Oh my word. All right, well, you kind of get the idea. I'm gonna take a break. I'll be back in a little bit hacking on this, but I'm gonna let you go. And yeah, hopefully this was fun, useful. You saw some stuff in a few different languages, and we got to play around with Stripe Checkout, Stripe Connect, and the new ACH v2. Thanks so much for watching, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one.